Hello, everyone. This is Nikki Scher here for Carta, and I will be working on the Hocus Pocus Project Class Kit. First, I want to just go through the little album that we'll be working on with you today. Okay, so it's a little 6x6-ish folio, and it opens like this, and then like this, and there's a small waterfall on this side. And then this top part opens, this bottom part opens, and we've got a larger waterfall down here. Okay. And then in the center section is a little mini album that we're going to make that comes out and is a little flip through 6-page mini album. And then that just goes right back into this pocket. Oops. And then this closes, closes, and closes. And then we've got a cute little 6x6 album. Now, I want you to notice when this is my prototype, I did make it is bowing just a little bit because it's a little thick, but I fixed that now. So ours should not bow, but in case, I just wanted to show you kind of that little detail. And then in terms of what is in your kit, this is the instruction and the supply list. So the supply list shows you what's in your kit. So you're going to have the Hocus Pocus collection kit, a half a pack of the solids, the Hocus Pocus frames and tags, and then 7 sheets of the 12x12 black felt cardstock. Okay, so I'm just going to show you that really quick. So we've got our frames and tags. We've got our collection kit here. We've got a half a pack of the solids. That's 1 sheet of each solid. And our 7 sheets of black felt cardstock. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. Okay. And then in terms of what you're going to need as listed right here, so we need a paper trimmer, scoreboard, bone folder, scissors, your favorite wet and dry adhesive, a ruler just in case, some black twine, some coordinating ribbon, magnets in small and large, or if you just have a new pack of large, you can just use that as well, and a crocodile. Then on the bottom here is what I used for the photo mats, and that's what that solid cardstock is for. So we will get to that later. But then I just want to flip over, and then we have 10 pages of directions. Okay, so this is what we're going to be using today for the directions. And then there's also a video link that you can go to watch the video that I'm talking to you about right now. So then that link is going to be listed right here. And then we're going to walk through this step by step today. And then you're also going to have your photos. So these are for embellishment purposes. So this is the photos of all of the pages of the little folio. Okay, and this will be for if you want to embellish just like I did. And then it also has the cardstocks on here and then your cardstock photo mat placement as well. Okay, so we're not really going to need this today, but for embellishment purposes, if you want that, that is where you're going to find that. Okay, and then this is going to be what we're going to use today. And I kind of have a method. So when I write the directions, I do give you the cut measurements and then the score measurements, but I'm going to go through and kind of cut everything first, and then we'll go back and do the scoring measurements. Okay, so we're going to start with the black cardstock. So it says right here, the following directions are for the black cardstock provided in your kit. So we're going to start with that. So that is my 7 sheets of black cardstock right here. And the first piece that we're going to need to cut is 9 5/8 inches wide by 9 inches tall. Now, typically when I'm trimming, I do like to try and do the shortest measurement first so that I have the largest piece of scrap left. So I'm going to do that 9 inches first. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn it and do my 9 5/8. So 9 5/8 is the 1/8 inch tick mark right after 9 1/2. So it's between that 9 1/2 and 9 3/4. Okay, and I'm going to set that to the side. And then it says the next one down here, it says using 4 pieces of cardstock, cut 4 pieces to 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. So those are going to be our flaps, and it says flaps B1 through B4 here. So we're actually just going to go ahead and cut 6 1/4 by 6 1/4, and we will use all of this paper, so don't worry, it's not going to waste. So I need 4 of these. So I'm just cutting that 6 1/4 inch mark first, and then 6 1/4 again. Okay. And again, we've got 6 1/4 by 6 1/4, so that makes 3. And we need one more. 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. Perfect. Okay. Now these we are not going to score. There's no score marks on these. So we're just going to go ahead and put these in a little bit of a separate pile. So I'm creating a score pile and a non-score pile here. And then it says from the above scraps, cut and score the following pieces. So like I said, we're just going to cut for right now. So we need 6 pieces of 5 1/2 by 5 3/4. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull out those little kind of short guys first, because if I stack them up, they should already be 5 3/4, and they are. So I just need to trim down one side to 5 1/2. So it's already 5 3/4 one way. So we just need to trim down the other side to 5 1/2. And we need 6 of these. So there's 4. Already got 4 of them. And then these little 1/2 inch pieces are scrap. And then we can take one of these and trim it to 5, one of the long ones, and trim that guy to, actually it should already also be 5 3/4. It is. And then we just need 2 pieces of 5 1/2 out of that. Okay, so now we've got our 6 pieces of 5 1/2 by 5 3/4. Okay, that's going to become our album. Okay. Then we need to use one piece of card. So I'm flipping to the next page. So we're on page 2 now. Again, we're just doing cutting directions. So I need, let's see, 4 pieces to 4 1/2 by 6. So actually, I think I can get that out of this scrap. So let's just try that. It says cut 1 piece of cardstock, but I'm going to try and cut it from this. So we're going to do 4 1/2 by 6. So that's 2, and then we need 4 of those. So 4 1/2 inches wide or tall by 6 inches wide. Oh, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. Okay. And we do need to score those. And then we need another piece that is, or 4 pieces, excuse me, that are 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. Now I know that I'm not going to be able to get it out of that scrap, so I am going to use a new sheet here, and I'm going to cut 2 strips of 3 1/4 first. So I've got 2 strips of 3 1/4 by 12, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut 4 3/4 twice out of each strip. 4 3/4, 4 3/4, and 4 3/4, and 4 3/4. Okay, so we got 4 of those guys. Okay, and then we need one piece that is 3¼ by 5. So I know that I can get that out of one of these. Let's see. So this guy is 5½. So if I actually just cut a 3¼ inch piece off the top here, and then I cut this guy to 5. There we go. So that is 1. And then I need one that is 3¾ by 7¾ Okay, so this is, so we will do this guy to 3¾ inches wide by 7¾ inches tall. There we go. And we actually have a full sheet left. So I'll actually adjust that in the directions. So we only need 6 sheets of cardstock. So then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make that adjustment. So you only need 6 sheets. And then if you have 6 sheets, you still have this much left over for whatever else you need. So I know originally it said 7, so we're going to change that to 6. Perfect. Okay. And then that is going to get scored as well. So I'm going to put all of the rest of that to the side for right now. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flip back to page 1 here. Okay. Now we did all of our cutting. So now we need to do all of our scoring. So I'm going to go ahead and whip out my scoreboard here. And we're going to start with kind of that first piece that we did first. So we have our 9 5/8 inches wide by 9 inches tall. Okay. And we are going to go ahead and score this guy first. So with it hitting the 9 5/8 inches side in your scoreboard, so that we want to hit here, 9 5/8, we're going to score it 4 times. We're going to score it at 1/2 inch. Okay. So we've got 1/2 inch. And then we're going to score it at 1 3/4. So 1 3/4. And then 8. Okay. And 9 1/8. So 9 1/8 is that tick mark right after 9. Okay. Now you're probably going to notice that this side is a little bit wider than this side, and we want that. We actually want that. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to make a little mark here. I'm going to put an L for left. And I tend to circle things. It's just a little thing I do. So I did left in a circle. Okay. And that's just for later. I will know, but I just want just in case to do that. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn this guy 90 degrees. Okay. And it doesn't matter whether the left is at the top or the bottom because the score measurements are the same top and bottom. Okay. So we're going to turn it 90 degrees so that the 9 inch side is hitting our scoreboard. And then we're going to score it at 1/2 inch. Okay. So we've got 1/2 inch. And we've got 1 3/8. So 1 3/8 is the tick mark between 1 1/4 and 1 1/2. Okay. And then we've got 7 5/8. So 7 5/8 is the tick mark between 7 1/2 and 7 3/4. Another way to do that is to go to 7 and then do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're counting 5 of the 8s. And there we go. And then we've got 8 1/2. So 8 1/2 right here. Okay. Now I know that people get a little nervous about 8s, but I think that little trick that I do is really good, where you go to the whole number and then you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 5/8, etc. So just remember that trick, and I love that. And I'm just making sure that my school line went all the way to the top there. Okay, perfect. And that is our main folio piece scored. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of put that guy to the side over here because we're going to keep going. Now, remember the next 4 pieces we cut were those 6 1/4 by 6 1/4, which are not getting scored. So I'm going to find those 6 pieces that are 5 1/2 by 5 3/4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I need to score them at 5 with the 5 1/2 side hitting my scoreboard. Okay. So if you're looking at it and it's hitting 5 3/4, just turn it 90 degrees and then you should be good. So your 5 1/2 inch side is hitting. And we're going to score all of these guys at 5. Okay, so we're going to score all of these guys at 5. And there is not a diagram of this. I apologize. Okay, so we're going to score all of these guys at 5. Another trick that I do like to do as well is I highlight when I'm kind of done with the scoring or with that section. So you can do that as well. So if you wanted to kind of come in here and we cut that one piece of cardstock, so I can kind of highlight that. And then I did score at all of these points and I scored at all of these. I cut my 4 pieces. I cut those 6 pieces and then I scored at 5 for all of those. And then that just kind of gives me, it's hard to see through the yellow silk, but it kind of gives me a little bit of a, measurement, or if I come back to this later, it gives me a way to remind myself, oh, hey, there's that, I already did that. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and work on our large waterfall section next. Okay, so our large waterfall section were those 4 pieces that we cut to 4 1/2 by 6. Okay, so there should be 4 of those. And we want to score all of these at 4 with the 4 1/2 inch side hitting your scoreboard. Okay, so we're gonna, with it hitting that 4 1/2 inch in your scoreboard, we're gonna score all of these guys at 4. Okay. There we go. So then I can mark those off. Okay, and then the next one is going to be our small waterfall pieces. And there are 4 of those as well. And so you would just want the 4 that are the 4 3/4 by 4 1/4, or excuse me, 4 3/4 by 3 1/4. And we're going to score all of these at 4 1/4. Okay, so we're repeating for all 4 pieces, scoring at 4 1/4. We've got 2 pieces left to score. So we have these. So this is that scrap that we cut, that one that is 3 1/4 by 5. And this is going to be what we're going to use to secure our large waterfall in place. So we're actually going to score this twice. We're going to score it at 4 1/4. Okay, and 4 1/2. So it's going to have a little 1/4 inch gusset on it. So 4 1/4 and 4 1/2. There we go. And then we've got our pocket piece. So this is our pocket piece that our album is going to get housed in. And we're going to score this guy 6 times. So the first way we're going to do is we're going to put it in horizontally. So with it hitting the, it says put it in vertical. So with it hitting the 3 3/4 inch side at the top of your scoreboard, score it at 2 3/4. Okay, and 3 1/4. So this is going to be a pocket that has a 1/2 inch gusset. Okay, and then we're going to turn it, and with it hitting the 7 3/4 inch side, we're going to score it at 1/2 inch. Okay, and 1 inch. Okay, and then 6 3/4 and 7 1/4. There we go. So we've got our 6 score marks right there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put this guy away because that is all the scoring that we're going to go ahead and do. And we're going to go ahead and start beginning assembly. So it says beginning assembly, fold all score lines and burnish all score lines with your bone folder. Perfect. So let's go ahead and do that. And when I say burnish, I mean this is kind of your last chance to get everything straight. So I like to use my Teflon bold folder for this. And I come in and I just kind of make sure that that line is going to be nice and straight. So I line up the edges so that they're nice and straight. And go ahead and make sure that I have a nice straight edge here for each burnish. Okay, so this is if like your scoreboard went a little wonky for some reason. This is your last kind of chance to get that nice straight corner. Okay, so we're going to keep doing that for all of these guys here. So I'm just burnishing all of these score lines. Okay, I'm just kind of stacking everything up together. Just bending the waterfalls one way. Don't need to worry about the other direction for right now. I'm just going to kind of stack them on top of each other. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and do those large waterfall pieces. Now, as we're building this folio, okay, we're going to build with all the cardstock for the outside kind of shell of the folio. And then we're going to come in with some of the pattern paper and add that. And then we can go ahead and add the waterfall and the pocket because we have to add the pattern paper in before we can add those. Okay. Oh, it looks like I got one page of my mini album here, which is fine. Stacking up these waterfalls here. And then the rest of the mini album pages. And right now I'm just going to score in one direction again, but we will, for this one, we will need to score in both directions eventually, but we will worry about that once we add the adhesive. So we can go ahead and do just kind of this bit for right now. Okay. That is the mini album, which I'll put with the waterfalls. And then we've just got our large folio section next. Okay, so I'm going to fold on all of these larger or inner score lines first. And one more. And then I'm going to go ahead and do these little 1/2 inch flaps next. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so that is exactly what we want. Now, the next step, it says, once all the score lines are burnished, we can go ahead and cut out the four corners of our main folio piece. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna grab my scissors and I'm just gonna remove on that red line. So it has the red line here where you're gonna remove them. And I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm actually going to remove outside of the line. So I'm cutting on the outside of the line. So I'm cutting out that entire score line, if that makes sense. I'll kind of hold it up so you can see. So you can see, let's see here. Can you see if I can catch it in the light? There we go. So the score line I'm actually removing as well. So I'm cutting out that entire score line on all four corners. Okay. Just cutting these out. Now, as a reminder, you guys, just in case, if I'm going too fast, please remember that you can pause, rewind, go back at any point. Okay, and you have your handy dandy written directions as well. Okay, so I've removed all four of those corners. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing on my pocket piece, except for we're just going to remove the two bottom corners. And I'm going to do the same thing again, where I'm going to cut on the outside of those lines. Okay, I'm just cutting on the outside of the score line so that I'm removing that entire score line from existence. There we go. Perfect. And then I didn't say this in the directions, but if you would like, you can go ahead and cut just that little 1/2 inch piece, just the corner of that 1/2 inch piece. And that is just for when we go ahead and glue that guy down into our album. It'll help hide the pocket, but you're just going to cut the 1/2 inch piece that we're going to glue. Don't cut all the way across both score lines, just that last 1/2 inch piece. Okay, so we can go ahead and get that guy out of the way. Oh, actually, you know what? Okay, so I did have you do this. I'm going to go ahead and have you apply all of the score tape now, but then we'll add everything later. Okay, so this is just a little trick that I do so that it makes life a tiny bit easier as I'm going. So it says prepare the pocket. Add this 3/8 inch double-sided tape to the front of all 1/2 inch flaps. So if I'm looking at it, my flaps are folding in. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to apply my 3/8 inch score tape right along that edge. Okay. Now you're probably wondering what tool I'm using. This is actually a little tool that I kind of came up with. It's a it's my handy dandy score tear. Okay, so I just use it to tear my score tape. Okay, and then so we've got that one done, and then it says to go ahead and prepare the waterfall pieces as well. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to add these to the back of each 1/2 inch flap. Okay, now it doesn't really matter which side you put it on because we're not adding it in yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put it on the side that's folding down, because when we lay these down, they're actually going to go like this. So we're going to leave it flat and then lift up. So that is technically the back of the flap. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just apply that to all four of these guys. Okay, and again, we're not going to add the pocket or the waterfall pieces until after we add the pattern paper. Okay. So now we are moving on to page 4, and it is the same thing for that small waterfall. So we will go ahead and add our score tape onto the small waterfall here. And again, these are all going to be taken care of after we add our pattern paper. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and stack these up with the pocket over here. And then this is actually step 6 in the written directions right here, but I'm just going to do it right now. So this guy is going to, again, hold our waterfall in place. So I'm just going to go, I'm going to add my adhesive to the front, or excuse me, to the back of this flap, but it looks like it's the front, but it is the back. Okay. So that when I'm ready, I can put it in place and it will go just like this. So you want the score tape here with the fold, right, the little gusset on the left, and then the flap on the front, just like that. Okay. So we're going to need that in the next step. So now that we are ready for this, we're going to go ahead and start assembling our folio. But the first thing I want to do is I want to actually go ahead and add my 3/8 inch double-sided tape to the 1/2 inch flaps here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that first. So I'm going to go on all 4 sides and add my 1/2 inch adhesive all the way on all 4 sides here. Then we want to make sure that we have our piece right side up. So we want this 1 1/4 inch gusset on the left hand side. Okay. And we're going to go ahead. Actually, we want it on the right hand side. Sorry, I make little notes on my directions so that I can fix them before I send them out to you guys. Okay, so we want it on the right hand side. So I'm gonna flip it so that my little left here, so that my left is over here. So it's on the right hand side. Okay, because I'm looking at it from the back. This is the back of the folio. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're going to attach our B1 through B4 pieces to all of these sections. Now, this is the pieces that we cut, the 6 1/4 inch pieces that we cut earlier. Okay, and they are all the same size. So it really is okay when we add it. We just want to make sure that eventually we do have our, our gusset on the left this side when we flip it over. Okay, so right now I have my left hand gusset, my thicker gusset on the right hand side. Okay, and that's just what it looks like in the directions. And then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to start by adding in my 6 1/4 inch pieces. Okay, and I'm going to add them, and they are going to be a little bit wider because remember we cut that score line out. So you just want to center it onto your cardstock flap here, and you're going to put it right up into the score line, but not over it. Okay, right up into the score line, but not over it. And we're actually just going to continue doing that all the way around. Now, I like to I kind of turn the folio for myself. I just find it a little bit easier that way. But if you want to leave it right, in the same direction, you can. Okay. So we're just going all the way around here. Okay. And again, I'm just centering it on that flap and adhering it straight on centered up to the fold, but not past it. Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flip it over, and you're going to notice that everything is looking pretty good. I have my left hand gusset on the side over here, and then I'm going to add my final piece, which is this piece right here. So this little secure flap, and we're going to go ahead and add it right to the bottom of this bottom B4 section. Okay, so I have it marked as B4. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and I like to just kind of fold it up flat. And I'm not even measuring. If you want to measure, you can, but I'm just eyeballing it. And I fold it up so that I can kind of line up that bottom fold with the bottom of the folio and then stick that down. So now I have my little flap that is going to hold my large waterfall in place. We don't want to add our magnets here yet, though. We need to add the waterfall in before we can do that. So now that that is added, that is kind of the final outside shell piece for the folio. So then the bottom piece is going to go up first, then the top, then the right, and then the left. And we've got this nice little shell coming together for our folio. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and add our magnets at this point. I did add 2 sets here, okay, and then 2 sets here. But if you are short on magnets and you don't want to do that, you could definitely try just 1. But since I used 2 in the original, I am going to use 2 sets now. These are the basic gray magnets, which you can pick up at your local scrapbook store. Okay. And what I like about these magnets is that they come with a self-adhesive backing. So I'm just peeling this whole back off, and we're actually only going to use 8 of the 12. Okay. Now, another thing about these is they do come with this protective kind of plastic shell. So you're just going to want to remove that. And I'm going to take out 1 set of magnets. So I've got 1 positive and 1 negative. Okay, 1 positive and 1 negative. And I'm going to magnetize the silver sides together. So I've got a positive and negative set right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I have my left hand flap on the left hand side. Okay, so I know that that is my cover. Okay, and I'm going to open up that left hand flap and I'm going to stick 1 right about here and 1 right about here. Now, I always start with the positive. It's just kind of my personal trick. I like to start with the positive because then I kind of know as I'm layering things that it's not going to interfere with magnets down the road. Okay, so I go about 1 inch in and 1 inch in so that I have so it's about 1 inch in from the corner. Okay, and then I'm going to take my other set, okay, my next set, which is a positive and a negative. And I'm going to magnetize those together as well. So I've got the 2 silver sides magnetized together. I'm going to take off that positive sticker. Okay. There we go. And again, I'm going to stick it about 1 inch in from the corner. So 1 inch down and 1 inch in. And there we go. They don't have to line up perfectly. It will be fine if it's not. But so I've still got, so my my positive is attached to the paper and my negative is magnetized in place. Okay. And what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to show you before I do it. So we're going to take off these negative stickers and then we're going to go ahead and close this flap. Okay. Just like that. So that we have a nice seal here. And we want to make sure that it is nicely squared up. Okay, before we lay it down. Now you're going to notice right here, I am a little crooked on my attachment to this piece. So I can actually fix that if I want to. I'm not super worried about it, but just so that I can kind of show you guys, undo works really good for score tape, which is why I always recommend undo. But you can just kind of pour a little bit on this strip right here. And it's just going to lift right up. If you tried to do this without undo, you're just going to tear your paper in half. Okay, and then we need to kind of let it dry, which it dries very quickly. And then we'll go ahead and reattach this piece, and I'm just going to make sure that it is nice and straight this time. Okay. It's a little crooked at the top there, which it really would have been fine, but I just kind of want to show you guys how that undo works so well. Okay. And let's just check it again. And it's a little bit better now. See, so you can't kind of see that border, right? Now it does take a minute for it to dry. So like right now it probably is still, yeah, it's a little tacky. So, you know, if you needed to readjust it, you could. So if you needed to come back in and kind of attach just in case again, you totally could. Okay. But it is great because that adhesive still works and everything is fine. Now, if you were to use liquid glue doing this, you would not be able to do that. So that is, again, why I recommend the score tape for this. Okay. So now that everything is good, I'm going to take off my negative stickers here off of my magnet and close this flap. And again, I'm just going to make sure everything is nicely squared up. You can use the table if you'd like. Okay, and then I just kind of get my fingers in between those two pages and squeeze just to attach those magnets nicely. And there we go. They are going to be very strong at first, but that is how you get your magnets exactly where you need them to be, so that when you shut, they are going to hold themselves in place perfectly. Okay, they are very strong right now, but we are going to add several layers of paper, so don't worry about that. Okay, now we're going to open up our right flap and we're going to go ahead and do the same thing, but we're going to add them to the inside of our top flap here and attach them to the front of our bottom flap. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a set again, and I'm going to start with my positive. And I'm going to go about an inch in and an inch down from that corner. Same thing I did over here. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going in an inch in and an inch down. Okay. So I'm taking out that positive sticker again. And an inch in and an inch down. Doesn't have to line up perfectly. It will be fine. Okay. Once those are stuck, I can go ahead and take off my negative magnet, or my negative sticker. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and shut again. And then this time I again want to make sure that my album is nice and straight. So I have a nice straight connection here. Okay, the sides aren't lining up exactly. So I want to make sure my sides are lined up, my bottom is lined up nice, and then I'm going to go ahead and push. Okay, and now my magnets are in place. Look at that. Looks pretty good. Okay, so I've got my magnet, and I have not added my magnet here yet, and that is okay. Okay, so I've got my magnet on the top flap to close the bottom, and then I've got my magnets here and here to close there, and we are good. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to clean up my area just a little bit because we're actually going to start cutting some of our pattern paper. Okay, so I'm just going to stick my folio out of the way for right now. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to open up my collection kit. Okay. So the first piece I need is this Gone Batty paper. And it shows you right here, it's called Gone Batty. Okay. And this is actually the back side. Okay. So the front side is bats and the back is that cute haunted house scene. Okay, so that is what we want. So that's gone batty, and we're going to work on the B side first. Okay, now I did not say this in the directions, but you can go ahead and remove your strip, your little, before you do anything. And I like to just kind of line it up at the 12-inch mark on my scoreboard or on my cutter and just trim that off. And then you can go ahead and leave that to the side. If you want to keep this, you can. You do not have to. It is completely up to you. I'm just going to go ahead and toss mine. Okay, but then I'm working with my 12-inch piece here. Okay, and it says we're going to cut the paper in half into 2 pieces first. So I'm going to cut right down the center at 6 first. So I got 2 6 by 12-inch pieces. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and start from the bottom. Okay, and we're going to cut, it's already 6 inches wide, so we want a 5/8 inch piece, which is that 1/8 inch mark between 1/2 inch and 3/4. Okay, so I want a 5/8 inch piece. Okay, and then I want a 6-inch piece. So I'm going to cut out this whole back here. Okay, so I've got, first I've got this, which is the bottom, and then I need another 5/8 inch piece. Okay, looking good. And those are going to be for the gussets on the top and bottom of my paper here. And then I need to cut a couple more pieces, and these are actually going to be for the cover of my album. And I'm actually going to be using them the back side, so I can flip it over if I want and just start going from there. So I need a 5.5 by 2.5 inch piece first. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to cut a 2.5 inch by 6 inch piece. And then I also need a 1/4 inch by 5.5 inch piece as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to cut my 1/4 inch piece off of that. And then this is going to be scrap paper. Okay. So I know from this that this is actually going to be for the cover of my pocket piece. And if I want, I can go ahead, I can actually, it says here to cut 2 1/4 inch pieces off of one side. But if you want, you can actually cut a 1/4 inch off of each side here. And then they will match up when you go ahead and put them into your, or glue them onto your pocket. So I'm cutting my 2 1/4 inch pieces here. Okay, and then my front piece. And then I'm just going to cut a 1/4 inch off of each side of this long piece as well. And that is going to be for the bottom gusset on my pocket. Okay, so we can go ahead and put those to the side because those are going to be used for later. Okay, and then, but we are going to use these pieces next. And then we need to go ahead and cut up this piece for the rest of the cover of our folio. So from the top, I'm going to cut a 6 by 6 inch piece. So it's already 6 inches wide. So I'm going to cut my 6. Okay. And then I need to turn it, and I need a 1 by 6 inch piece. Okay. So I want a 1 inch piece off of this side. Okay. And then I want a 7/8 inches by 6 inch piece off of this side. And this is actually the tick mark right before 1. Okay. And then I need a 1 1/4 by 5.5. And again, this is for the decoration for the folio cover. So we're actually just going to turn it over on the back side. And I'm going to cut a 1 1/4 inch piece and then trim that down to 5.5. And actually, this is, I'm going to cut a 1/4 inch for me. It's just because my trimmer makes this kind of weird mark. So if I cut a 1/4 inch off of each side, it kind of cleans it up. Okay. So then this is going to be for the cover of my folio. So that is, again, used for later. So I can just put it in another pile. And then I've got scrap here and scrap here. Okay. So we're going to keep the scraps in a completely separate pile. And then these are all of the pieces that we're going to use to cover the outside of our folio. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add those pieces to the front or the cover of our folio here. And I'm just going to use some liquid glue for this. If you prefer to use a tape runner, you can. It's completely up to you. But I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to start with the cover pieces here. And this cover piece is actually going to be the clouds. Okay. So that cloud piece is going to go right onto the front cover here. And there is going to be a black border around everything. So I've got my cloud piece. Okay. And then remember these strips, one is 7/8 inch and one is 1 inch. So the wider one is actually going to go onto this border side right here, this border piece. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add that one. And I just like to make sure that I get my corners when I'm using liquid glue. Okay, so the wider one is going to go onto that left side here. And you know what? Actually, okay, I can tell this album is having issues with the magnets over here. This one is sticking. So let's see here. I'm actually going to move this one a little bit up. So I'm just kind of carefully pulling up. And if it tears the paper a little bit, that's okay. And I'm just going to remagnetize it to this one. Again, if it tears the paper, it's okay because we're going to cover it with pattern paper anyway. But it is right in the same spot as that other magnet, so it's having a little bit of an issue. So I'm going to move it kind of halfway up like that. And then stick it back down. And then, yeah, okay, perfect. That's much better. The album was going kind of wonky there for a second. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick this 7/8 inch one over here onto the right side gusset. Excuse me. Okay. There we go. Looking good. Now, if you wanted to ink the edges of this, you totally could. A nice black would look really good, I think. It's just, I just have a problem with inking. I tend to forget to ink. So I will ink like the cover or half of the cover and then forget to do the rest. And that hurts my type A personality when I forget things like that. So I don't tend to ink unless the paper like really, really needs it. So, you know, that is a personal preference on my account, but feel free to ink that if you want. I'm sticking that haunted house image on the back of my folio, and it's just like a perfect square. It just sits amazingly right there. Totally a decorative image. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to glue that bottom one here. Okay. So I'm gluing my bottom 5/8 inch piece. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue that top 5/8 inch piece, and the little trees should line up too, like that. There we go. So now the whole outside of my folio is covered. Okay. And so I'm just kind of making sure all of those pieces are stuck. which looks great. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flip to the next page because we're going to do the inside pieces next. And I'm actually going to cut both of these because both of these are for the inside, and then we'll go ahead and work on the rest. So I'm going to need this spinning webs piece and the black cats piece from my pack here. Here are the black cats. And here are the spinning webs. Okay. So we're going to cut, we're going to go ahead and cut our bottom piece off first. Let's go ahead and do that. So I've got my strip cut off, and then it says to cut into 4 pieces of 6 by 6. So that is easy. So let's just go ahead and cut straight down the center there. And then I'm going to cut this left one into 2 pieces of 6 by 6. And then this guy will be into 2 pieces of 6 by 6. Perfect. Okay. Then from the one of the 6 by 6s, I'm going to cut the following. So we need a 1 by 6 inch piece. So I always use this side of my trimmer. So we're going to do a 1 by 6. Then we're going to do a 7/8 by 6. So that again is that 1/8 inch mark right before the 1. And then we need 2 1.5 inch pieces of 6. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to cut 1.5 and 1.5. Okay. And then it says I need a 4 1/4 by 3 1/4. So by 3/4. So 3/4 inch. I got a 1 inch piece left here. So I'm just going to kind of trim that. And you can keep this or you can trash it. I'm just going to trash it by 4 1/4. So I'm going to save. That's actually a pocket decoration for the pocket. So we're going to put that in our little pocket pile. And you have this. I'm going to trash it. I'm not worried about it. Okay. And then, so now I've got all of these pieces. Okay. For the inside. And then, like I said, I'm actually going to cut the black cat as well. So let's go ahead and cut the strip off of this guy. Okay. And I have to do the same thing. I'm going to cut this guy into 4 pieces of 6 by 6. So we're going to do 6 and 6 there. So that's 2 pieces of 6 and 3 pieces of 6. And then this, we're going to have to cut into one of the 6 by 6s. We're going to cut 2 6 by 5/8 inch pieces. So let's go ahead and cut those. So 5/8 is the 1/8 inch tick mark right after half. So I'm cutting that. Okay, and then we need 1 5 3/4 by 3 3/4, and this is actually going to be one of the waterfall pieces. So I'm actually just going to trim right here at 3 3/4. This is a scrap, and then 5 3/4 inches wide. This is trash. So this we'll save for later, and this is our 1 inch by 6 inch piece of scrap. Okay. So now that I've got all of these pieces, I can go ahead and start piecing them together into my album, okay? So the first piece that we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna open up our left flap here, and the first pieces that are gonna go on are the web pieces here and here, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna find 2 of these 6 by 6 pieces of web, and I'm going to add them here. Now I can use glue right over these magnets. If you are having trouble with the glue that you're using popping off or something and not adhering over the magnets, you can always add a piece of score tape right over those magnets as well to help hold that paper in place. And I'll show you what I do for that on the piece next to it. But so I've got my webbing in place here, and then I'll show you, I actually just kind of take a piece of score tape and I can put it right on kind of the outer edge here. It's almost like half on, half off. I just want to make sure this all sticks. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take this off, and I will go ahead and add my other 6 by 6 inch piece of web paper here. And then I shouldn't have, I'm gonna open it just so that I can push on it, because it's hard to push on it with all that hollow. So, and then that just kind of helps the paper stick around the magnets too. So that side had a little bit easier time sticking around the magnets than this one. See, this is already popping up over here. So you can totally do that to make your life a little bit easier. Okay. Now it says it says in here that the 1.5 by 6 inch peaches is decoration, shown in the photos, but I can show you how they are right here. So I'm going to grab those 2 1.5 inch pieces that we cut, and we're actually just going to go ahead and add them right here and right here. So they're just kind of a little decorative piece, and for whatever reason they are a little bit longer, so I'm going to trim them. They're just like a hair too long. Probably could have left it, but you know me, perfectionist. So I just trim those up just a tiny bit, and let's see, now they're going to be too short. Nope, they're fine. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add these guys. So they're about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch from the edge. Okay, and these are opposite the magnets, and they are opposite the magnets kind of on purpose. They're just so that you know, it's decoration. And if I put them right over the magnets, it probably would have been okay. But then I'm looking at something like 4 layers of paper for the magnets to go through, and I just think it's a little bit better if we have a little less paper for them to go through. And if I can put them on this side, why not? Okay, so there we go. So those are just little decorative strips for later. Okay, and then the next, I'm kind of using the sample here. The next piece, is going to go ahead and go on this side right here. And this is where our small waterfall is going to be. So we can go ahead and add in our web pattern paper here. And this is the inside of the right flap. Okay. And then in terms of what we have left for webbing, we just have these 2 pieces, and these are going to be for the inside gusset. So the wider of the 2 is going to go on that left side, and the skinnier of the 2 is going to go on that right side. So we can go ahead and add those guys in next. Okay. And then this guy is going on this side. Just like that. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and add our cat next. Now the pattern paper for the fronts of these are different. So we will add those in a little bit, but what we want to add are these sections. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start from the bottom here. Okay. And we're going to add, so the cats are going to go straight down this line here. So I've got my 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then these strips go into the gusset sections. So let's start from the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and add this guy in first. Okay. Okay. And then this guy is going to go into this middle section here. Okay. I can go ahead and add one of my strips. Now they are not going to line up, but one is probably going to look a little bit better than the other. This one almost lines up actually. So I'm going to use that one here. Just like that. I'll put the other strip on that top gusset section. I'm going to fold this up just to, well, I'm going to do it like this. Hold it against myself. Okay, and then we can fold that up, and then we can stick our score tape on. Oops, kind of missed that second wrong angle. There we go. Let's do it like that. Okay. Take that off. And then glue my last piece of cat paper. I love this kitty cat, by the way. He is just adorable. Good job, Stephen Duncan. He's so cute. I love this one for some reason. Looks so sassy. Or she, he or she. Okay. I'm just kind of using my hand heat to hold this down so I get that section taken care of. And there we go. Looks good. Okay, now the next two pieces of that it talks about in here, the 6x4 and 3x4 journaling cards, we're actually going to come back to those. Let's work on a few more of the pattern papers first, and then we'll come back to the cards when we're ready to add in our waterfalls. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to fold this guy back up for now to get him out of the way. And then we are going to work with that Bewitched paper next. So we can go ahead and find that, and that bewitched paper it's the hats on the front actually. So it's these hats on the front with this blue kind of viney pattern on the back. And we're going to go ahead and trim off the bottom of our right here. And then we need 2 pieces of 6 by 6, so I can cut right down the middle at 6 here. And then we need a piece that is 4 3/4 by 5 1/2. So 2 pieces that are 4 3/4 by 5 1/2, and 2 pieces that are 1 1/4 by 5 1/2. So if I actually cut at 5 1/2 inches tall on this, I should be fine. So we're going to do 5 1/2 and 5 1/2, and then I have this little 1-inch scrap. And then if I do this 4 3/4, I will have a 1 1/4 inch piece, just like that. And these are actually for our, oops, okay. This is for our album. So those 2 pieces can go to the side. These are going to be for our album, and there are 4 pieces. And then we just need to go ahead and cut this guy in 6 and 6. And then let's actually do the spooky stripes as well before we go ahead and hear some more. So the spooky stripes is this paper with the black stars on the back. So the first thing that we need is a bunch of 6-inch pieces. So let's actually go ahead and cut this guy straight across at 6 here. Okay, and then we need 3 pieces that are 2 by 6. So 3 pieces that are 2 by 6. So 1, 2, 3. And then we also need a 1 3/4 by 6-inch piece. Okay, and that is for our cover, I believe. So we can, let's see, folio cover. So we'll stick that out of the way. And then we need a 4-inch by 4-inch piece. And this is actually going to be the black side. So I'm going to cut it from the back here. And that is also album decoration. Okay, and this is little pieces of scrap. And then the next pieces that we're going to need are for our album. So let's go ahead. Let's cut this strip off first. Okay, and then I need actually, I know we're going to need it from the back. So let's cut the back side first. So 4 3/4 and 4 3/4, like that. And then they need to be 5 1/2 inches tall. So again, my trimmer leaves that weird mark, and I know I'm using the black side, so I'm going to cut a 1/4 inch from each side on this guy. Okay, and then we need 2 pieces that are 4 3/4 by 1 1/4. So if I cut this to 4 3/4 first, and then 1 1/4, which should be right in half, and it is just like that. And then those are going to also be for our album. And this can be trash. Okay, perfect. So for my folio, I need those 3 2-inch strips and the 2 blue pieces, okay? And these are going to go right, let me just double check. Yeah, okay, so they are gonna go right here. So 1 is going to be right here. Okay, and we can go ahead and glue that guy on. Okay. And then I know that one of these decorative strips is actually going to go right here. And again, in the directions, it says refer to photo, but I know where they go. So we're going to go ahead and put those down. Okay. Looks good. Then the next piece, we're going to lift up and it's going to go right here. So we can go ahead and add our score tape. Okay, and then this blue piece again is going to go right here. I'm going to use this side here to kind of help that. There we go. Looks good. Okay. And then the other strip is going to go on this side here, like this. Okay, so opposite what it is above it. This is having some difficulty sticking right there. Okay, go ahead and stick this guy down. Just like that. And I'm gonna again use the opposite side. And then this third strip is actually going to go as decoration right here as well. And it's okay that it kind of matches because when you're going to open that and then you won't see this and you won't see that they match anyway. So I am okay that they match there. If it really bothers you, you could put it on the opposite side, but I am, well, fine. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. I am kind of lining it up just in case though. There's that glue up. Okay, looks good. Now that we have the spooky stripes in place, we can actually go ahead and start adding in our waterfalls. And then we will go back to those 3x4 and 4x6 cards, okay, or 6x4. So the first ones I'm going to do are going to be the short waterfalls over here. I know that it is opposite that in the directions, but that's okay. It's just going to be fine. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to add in these waterfalls first. Now I'm just going to kind of show you how they're going to go first. Now the short ones are going to stagger, so left to right like this. And what you're going to notice is that that bottom one is actually going to have issues. It's going to hang down. So we're going to actually add that bottom one in last. Well, we do have to add it in last, but after we measure. So I'm just going to go ahead and start by I'm taking off the score tape off of the back of this guy, and I'm just going to line it up with the top left-hand corner of this pattern paper. And I'm going to push down. Okay. Then when I lift this up, I can go ahead and I can add my next piece in, and it's going to be staggered all the way to the right, lined up with this right edge, but right underneath that that waterfall above it. Okay, so it's going to butt up right up against that. Okay. And I'm just lining this waterfall up with that edge. Okay, and it is nice and straight. And then I can go ahead and flip this guy up, and we'll do the third one. And this guy is going to get the same treatment, but with the on the left-hand side here. Okay. And there we go. And then I'm going to go ahead. So he is stuck down. So I'm looking good with my 3 waterfalls. And I'm going to go ahead and add in my 4th, but remember, it's going to hang off. So see how much it's hanging off? Almost a ½ inch, which is fine. That just means I have to trim that a little bit, okay? So let's trim a 1/4 inch first and see what it looks like. And then if we need to trim more, we can. So I've got my 1/4 inch trimmed. Let's see. And it needs just a little bit more. Maybe even an 1/8, maybe a little bit less than an 1/8. Okay, and there we go. Perfect. Okay, so I want that bottom lined up with that bottom of that pattern paper. And then we will go ahead and line that up just like that and stick it down. And I've got my 4 waterfalls right there. Now it is shorter in my original as well, but you can't even tell when you get there. So don't worry about that. So that is the small waterfall section. And now we can come up and work on the large waterfall section. So that is this one right here. Okay, and we're going to add in this waterfall flush to the top. Okay, and it's going to take up that whole pattern paper section. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and take off that strip. And it is going to take up the whole top of that pattern paper. So we just want to go ahead and line it right up to the top of that pattern paper. Okay, and push down. Looks good. Then we can flip that up and we will add our next piece in. And we just want to keep them straight. Okay. So I just use the edge of that pattern paper to my advantage and stick that down. And if it starts looking a little crooked it's just because the score line isn't exactly straight. So you can kind of try and fix it a little bit if you want to like pull this and then, so like I'm going to pull this so that it lines up with that side and then just burnish this back down just a little bit so that when you lift it up, it is not as much of an angle. And that again is because when I burnished it, it just wasn't a straight burnish. As long as it's straight when it's folded down, it's okay. Okay, so then we're just going to go ahead and add in this next one. Okay, looks good. And then I need to test my last one first. So it's just a hair too long. So let's trim it just a tiny bit, okay? So we're just trimming just a teeny tiny of it off. Okay. And then we will go ahead and stick this guy right in place. Just like that. Okay, Now that we have that waterfall in place, we actually can go ahead and add in our magnet now. Now, if you want to use a large magnet, you can, or I usually have like these extra little small ones hanging around. So that's why I'm using a small one, just because I tend to use the large ones more often. So I kind of will keep the small ones around, and I won't actually have one magnetized to it. So we have a positive and a negative here. Okay, and I'm just going to do the same thing again. I'm going to open up that flap. I'm going to take off that positive sticker. I'm going to stick it about an inch in the center. Okay, take off the negative. I'm going to make sure that my gusset is nice and straight here, and then stick it down to the top flap of the waterfall. Okay, so then that is holding that guy in place. Okay, looks pretty good. Now we're going to go back and cut up some of the 3x4 and 4x6 cards. We need 4 of the 4x6s and 6 of the 3x4s. So we can go ahead and pull out those. There is one. And there is, okay. Now, there is another journaling card piece. This one, this piece right here. I only used this card from this piece, and I used it for the cover of the mini album. But you could really use anything you wanted. It's 4 inches by 4 inches. So if there was one of the 4x6 cards that you really like that you could cut down to 4x4, you could totally use it. Like you could probably get away with this Ghost, Goblins, and Ghouls, Oh My, or maybe even this Something Wicked This Way Comes. I'm just trying to see. So if you wanted to do that, you can, and then you'd have this whole extra piece as extra, but it is totally up to you what you guys want to do. Now, I did end up actually fussy cutting this guy out. I think it's that guy. Let's see. He is, I think it's the only thing that I actually fussy cut. Let's see. Oops, I'm sorry. I just totally messed up my camera here. Okay. So it's in this. So right here. No. He must be out of a tag or something because he's smooth. So I fussy cut him out of like a tag. So don't worry about that. So never mind. I did not fussy cut them out of that paper. But just so you know. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and choose 4 of these and 6 of the 3x4s. Okay. If you want to choose the same ones I did, I will go ahead and cut those out right now. So for the 4x6s, I chose Something Wicked This Way Comes, this Trick or Treat. I chose Keep Calm and Scare On, and I chose this Black Cats wing back. Okay, so I didn't use these 2, but you can if you want. It's totally up to you. But we do need to cut them out and trim them down a little bit. So let's go ahead and start by just cutting them out here. And I typically tend to cut right on the 4-inch marks and then kind of go from there. Now you'll notice that some of these cards have a black border and some of them don't. So that is another great way to kind of eliminate that black border if you don't want it to cut, because we are going to trim these guys down. So I did use both of these. So I am just going to go ahead and I'm going to cut them kind of in half. And then I assess each card and cut from there. So like, see how the image goes all the way to the edge on this side? So it's more likely that I'm going to go ahead and cut on this side. And we want to trim them all to 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. Okay. Now this one, it does have a little more room at the top, but if I cut too much from the top, it's going to look a little off. So I'm going to trim a tiny bit from the bottom. Okay. And then I will trim the rest from the top of that to get to that 3 3/4. Okay. So we want all of these to be 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. So this pumpkin is very close to the edge. So let's see, if I trim this, I am going to cut a tiny bit of Frank off. So let's cut most of it from Frankenstein's side, and then we will cut the rest inside. And let's cut an even amount from the top and the bottom. Okay, so we're cutting this guy down again to 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. So I've got 2. And then the next one is this one that I use, this Black Cats. Okay. So I want to eliminate the black border. So I'm actually going to cut a little bit more probably from this side. And then the rest from this side. So I get my 5 3/4. And then I'm going to cut a little bit from the top and a little bit from the bottom to get that. Okay, so now I've got my 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, and then this guy right here. Okay, so again, most of the image is on this side, so I'm probably going to actually just cut all of it from the right side. And then it is a little bit tall. So let's see if I cut this here. I'm going to cut most of it from the bottom and a little bit from the top. There we go. And all of this is scrap. Okay, so then I've got my 4 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. And then I need 6 of these guys. So, and these are going to be 3 by 4. So 2 of them are going to actually be that closure piece for the piece that closes the waterfall. So you know what? Let's do this. Let's cut 4 this way. Okay. And this one actually, let's cut the strip off the bottom next because those were a little tall, those top ones. And then let's cut 4 from the bottom and see what we get here. Okay, and then is this, let's see. So it's a little long, which is okay. So we can try and trim that off the top. There we go. Okay. And then it is completely up to you which 6 you want to use. So for my sample, I'm going to try and stick to the same ones that I used originally. So one of them is this Bugs and Kisses with this spider dropping down. So I'm going to use him. And this is just so that it keeps it a little bit easier for you guys to view. And then I did the Don't Feed the Plants, so we'll use him. But again, this is completely up to you what you guys want to use. Then I used this Too Cute to Spook, and it does have a black border. So let's see if I can eliminate most of that by just kind of trimming it just as much as I can. I don't want to trim it too much. So it is going to be a little bit shorter than 3, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. And then let's see, what else did I use? I used the Creep It Real Frankenstein. And let's see. Okay, so I really like this guy. So let's go ahead and trim him. And he's going to be a little bit short as well because I'm trying to remove that black border. Okay. So I used Creep It Real and I used this Boo. I love him. So cute. Okay. Again, it's going to be a little bit short because I'm removing that black border, but that's okay. Okay. And then I think I used this guy right here. Let's see. Yes, I did. I used him. So is he already 3? He looks 3. Let's see. Yeah, he's 3. Okay. So I used that one as well. So I have an entire strip left, which I actually like because I really like this background piece. So you could totally use that later. I also tried to kind of keep the ones that could be considered card-based related. So like this, I Put a Spell on You, Boohoo, and What's Up Pumpkin. Those you could definitely use as scraps for your cards if you wanted to make some cards extra. You could also like fussy cut out some of these, so you could do that too. But so all of these 6 and these 2 cards are extra, but look how cute that broom paper is too. I love that. Okay, so those are all going in this scrap section. Okay. And then we can go ahead and start. Let's just add the 2 from the 2 that go on this bottom section here. Okay. And then we will work on the other ones later. Okay. So I did this Bugs and Kisses and Don't Feed the Plants. This Don't Feed the Plants image is probably one of my favorites in this entire collection. I love that cat, I love this plant, and I love that Frankenstein too. So I definitely wanted to make that kind of a prominent feature when I was doing this. So that's kind of why it ends up being on the bottom here. You could put it on the inside or the top, the front too. But I don't know, I just kind of ended up here. So we're going to go ahead and stick that guy in the center bottom of this section. Okay, to close this flap. Okay, and then the top one gets this Bugs and Kisses. Super cute. You know what? Actually, we can go ahead and add in the other pages for now. So the Something Wicked This Way Comes went right on that cover because I love that image too. I love the shadow and just think it's so cute. Now, I'm using these cards because I do like the cards, but if you wanted full advantage of space for photos, you could eliminate these cards completely and just do a card front here and a card here, and then you could have photos here and here, whatever you want to do. I don't want you to feel like you have to use the cards, but that is just kind of what I did. Okay. And then this third one down here gets the Trick or Treat. Okay. But you could totally even use the broom side and put a photo here. I just like kind of breaking things up with these cards because I just think the images are so cute on them. But again, it is completely up to you. Okay. And then on this bottom section here, I did this Keep Calm and Scare On again because I love that. It looks so Scooby-Doo to me. I can't handle it. So cute. Okay. And that fits right in the inside of this. Okay. And again, you don't have to add this here. You could just put photos there. And we'll add the rest of the pattern paper later. And then on this one, the big black cats, wings of bats, and witches hats goes here on the bottom section. So we can add that first. That is going on this inside bottom section here. Okay. And then the first one is going to be this Too Cute to Spook, which again, I love this guy. So, you know, that's why he is on the front, because he is my favorite sassy cat. Mm-hmm. And then I did put this, the plant again here. Okay. Plant goes right here. And you could actually eliminate all of this pattern paper too if you wanted. You could do some cards, some pattern paper, and you could journal on top of these, something like that. And then this Boo guy is next, and he goes on the back of the third card. Okay. And then I put this Creep It Real Frankenstein here, but remember we trimmed that bottom card, so I need to trim about 1/4 of an inch or a little bit less off of him. So let's do that. I'm going to trim it from the top. Let's see, is that enough? Nope, a little bit more. Okay, that looks good. And there we go. Okay, and then we're going to finish cutting up our pattern paper, and then we will add the rest of the pattern paper to these guys and work on the album as well. Okay, so there is all of that. You know what, actually, let's go ahead and add our pocket in next. Okay, so there's a little trick. If you would like to add your pattern paper now, you can. So let's go ahead and do that. So before I add in my pocket, I'm actually going to add in my pattern paper. So my big bat section here is going to go right on the middle front. Okay. So I can go ahead and add this on. Now if you wanted to add your pocket first and then your pattern paper, you totally could. It is completely up to you. And then we will add in these guys next. Now remember, we cut them so that they line up. So let's make sure that we get the right side on the right side. Okay. Looking good. And it just makes this part just a little bit easier for these little tiny pieces if you glue them on ahead of time. But again, you totally could glue them on after the fact. Okay. Add this guy. Looks good. There we go. Okay. And then we can go ahead and add our pocket into the middle center section right here. Okay. So the way I like to do that is I actually like to pull off the two side flaps first. Okay. So we're going to take off the adhesive there. And I'm gonna sit this on my table because I wanna make sure that these are nice and perpendicular. And then I'm going to fold up that bottom flap, and I kind of do one side at a time because I wanna make sure that I have a nice tacked, like squared off pocket, okay? That way, when I go to stick it down, I kind of have it in place. So it looks pretty good. The edges look nice and straight here. Oops, this side came off. The bottom looks nice and straight. You can kind of pinch those two corners to get them together a little bit. And then we can peel off that bottom section. And you're gonna notice if I lay it like this, there you can see there's a little bit of room on each side, about 1/8 of an inch. So when we stick it down, that's what we want to do. We want to stick it down so there's about 1/8 of an inch gap around the bottom and the two sides. And that looks pretty good. Just like that. And then you can actually I just use my bone folder to kind of get those sides taken care of, just like that. Looks good. Okay. So that is the pocket ready now for our album when we get there. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this guy back up. Take out the album from our sample here and close this guy up. And then we're going to go ahead and work on cutting up the rest of the paper. So let's grab our instruction sheet again. So we added the large waterfall, we added the small waterfall. It says preparing the album, which I actually want to cut the paper first. Let's do that first. So let's kind of start making stacks of our paper here. So remember, this was for our large waterfall, and then these were all decorative pieces. So we can kind of keep those going. Okay. And then we did start a little small pile here for our album pages. So we will keep that going as well. Okay. And we're just going to keep going for cutting the pattern paper. And then we'll get our album together and stick everything in place. Okay, so I'm just going to pull out the rest of the pattern paper because I know I'm going to be using it. And we're going to go ahead and start with this Haunted Nights, which is actually the back of this ghost paper. Okay. And let's go ahead and cut this. Okay. So I'm going to cut the bottom off first. That's what I've been doing. Okay. There we go. And then it says the first thing I need are 2 pieces of 4 3/4 by 5 1/2. So I'm going to cut that 5 1/2 inch strip first. Okay. And then we want 2 pieces of 4 3/4. So there's 1 and 2. This piece is scrap, so I can go ahead and put that in my scrap pile. These are going to be for my album pages, so I can leave those to the side. Okay, then I'm going to need 2 pieces of 4 3/4 by 1 1/2. So let's go ahead and cut a strip of 1 1/2 here. Okay, and then I need a piece of 4 3/4. Okay. 2 pieces of 4 3/4. This little piece is scrap. And then I need, from this section, we need a 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. So I can cut it at 5 3/4. And then from this, I'm going to cut a 3 3/4. And then we need a 1 inch strip from the bottom. So I'm just going to trim off, it's not even 1/4 of an inch, just a little bit less. There we go. I've got that. That's for the waterfall. And then we need a piece that is 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. And this is actually for the cover, and it's going to be the ghost side. So I can trim it from the ghost side. There we go. And stick that, the rest in our scrap pile. And then this 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 piece in our kind of decoration pile. Okay. Then we're going to go ahead and do our Frightful Friends, which is this paper, but we're going to start from the back side here. Okay. And it looks like we need, let's go ahead and trim this off first. So we're going to cut this at 12. Okay, and then we need 2 4 3/4 by 5 1/2. So I will cut this at 4 3/4. Half. And 5 1/2. This is scrap. Then we need a long piece of 1 1/4 by 5 1/2. 1 1/4 and 5 1/2 and 5 1/2. Okay. Then we need a piece that is 4 3/4 by 3 3/4. Sorry, 5 3/4. So I'm going to cut that 3 3/4 first, and then 5 3/4, and then a 1 3/4 inch piece from 1 1/4. Excuse me, 1 1/4. There we go. By 5 3/4. That is going to be for our waterfall. And then we do need 2 pieces that are 3 by 4. So let's cut them at 4 here. And then we've got 3. And it should be 3. Yep. Okay. Those are for our small waterfall. And then we need a couple little 1/2 inch decorative strips. So I'm actually just going to cut 2 1/2 inch strips. I'm going to leave them the length that they are. We'll just stick them in our decoration pile for now. And then this is scrap. Okay, then we're going to do Bone Dance. So Bone Dance is this skeleton paper. And we're actually going to work from the back side again. I'm going to cut this little strip off the bottom. And okay, so I need 2 pieces that are 4 3/4 by, 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. So let's cut that. Oh, this is crooked. Look how crooked that is. Okay, let's start from the bottom. I did not cut it that way. It came that way. That's okay. So we'll do 3 3/4 from the bottom. Okay, and then we'll do, is this 3 3/4? This was 4 3/4. Shoot. Okay. So 3 3/4. I think I should still be okay. And 5 3/4. That little crookedness threw me off. Sorry about that. Okay. So we've got 2 that are 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. Those are for our waterfalls. I just put them over there. Okay, and then we're going to need some pieces that are 5 3/4 by 5 1/2. So let's try doing it this way. Let's cut it at 5 1/2 first. I think we should be good. Okay, and then we'll do, so 5 1/2, and then we need 4 3/4 twice. And then we need 2 pieces that are 4 3/4 by 1 1/2. So I just want to make sure that I'm cutting it from the straight side here. I'm going to cut off that crooked bit. So it's that, I'm going to throw that away. So I've got my, I'm fine. So I've got my 4 3/4, 2 pieces by 4 3/4 by 1 1/2. There we go. Perfect. Okay. And the rest of this is scrap. It looks like we've got 1 piece left to cut, and then we can go backwards. And we're going to go ahead, let's cut the bottom strip of this guy off. Okay. And we need 2 pieces of 4 3/4 by 5 1/2. So we'll cut that first. Okay. Then we need another strip of 1 1/4 by 5 1/2. Spiders are creepy. Very real fear of spiders. Okay, then we need a piece that is 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. Okay, and a piece that is 5 3/4 by 1 1/4. So we'll trim that off the bottom. Okay, and then 2 pieces of 3 by 4. So we'll cut it 4, 3. See, it's good. Yep, perfect. And then we need 1 piece that is 1 by 4 1/2. How big is this? This is 1 already by, it's 4 3/4. So we can just leave it as is and trim it later. And then that is scrap. Okay. So now we've cut everything that we need to cut for pattern paper. So I'm going to go back and start on page 8 and work on the album here. Okay, so I've got my mini album and I need to find these. Okay, and I'm going to add 3 1/8-inch score tape to the back of 5 of the 6 pieces. Okay, so we want to add score tape to 5 of the 6. Okay. Let's go ahead and do that. That's 2. And 3. And 4. And 5. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and start gluing these guys together. And the reason that we only did 5 is because one of them is going to be the front or the back. It doesn't really matter which one. Okay. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start with just 3. So I'm going to take off the 1 piece of score tape. I'm going to line it up as best I can using the table and just kind of stick those 2 pieces together. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the 3rd piece here. Okay. So I've just got 3 pieces. Okay. And because the reason I'm doing this is because if we get the whole thing together first, it's probably not going to fit in our crocodile. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to punch these first three first, and then we'll come back. So I'm going to use the 3/16 inch side, and I'm going to go, let's say it's about 5/8 of an inch down. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to punch right in the center. And you can do 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, whatever you want, but I am using the larger side. Okay, and I just set my crocodile so that I know that it's going to be even on both sides. Okay, so I have that first half punched, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to work on my second. Actually, let's leave the score tape on that one. I'm going to work on my second set of 3 here. And again, just using the table, lining these guys up. Okay. Just like this. And then I've got my second set of 3. Okay, and I'm going to punch that. And again, leave it at the same setting. And, you know, it's really, I mean, I know the center could be off just a little bit, but it will be okay, whether it's off a little bit or not. Okay, and now that I have that punched, I can go ahead and take this guy off and attach the 2 halves together. And that top one is a little off, but that is okay. So now I've kind of got this faux little booklet, and I'm also going to come in and I'm going to just kind of burnish all of these folds here. Okay. So I just want to burnish the folds going both directions. Okay. Good. Okay, perfect. Then I can go ahead, I can come in with my little decorative ribbon here. And this is just, what is this? Nope, not this one. Sorry, excuse me. You can see my hair. I apologize. Okay, so I have a little strip of ribbon here. This is just, it's just some spider Halloween ribbon that I have. It's, nothing, you know, fancy. I think this is actually 2/3 of the yards. Let's see if this fits. I'm just gonna pull it through. Yeah. I think I said you need 1 yard of ribbon, but I think you can get away with 2/3. And again, this is just some spider ribbon that I had on hand. Let's see here. Okay, and I just made sure that my spiders are, you know, not twisted. Here, my ribbon's not twisted. And if you don't have Halloween specific ribbon, you could always just use some orange or black or green or purple or blue, whatever matches the paper. Okay, and I'm just gonna go ahead, I'm gonna tie a knot first. Okay. Tie a little knot. And I'm just gonna make sure that it's closer to the top. Okay, and then I can tie my bow here. So 2/3 worked fine. Just kind of getting my bow. I like it. Looks pretty good. Okay. And it's a little long. Oops, there we go. It's a little better. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim. And I do tend to leave them a little long because the ribbon will fray. And this way, if I leave them a little longer, I can just kind of trim it to keep it from fraying. Versus, or I could use fray check and trim it as much as I want, but then I have to hunt down my fray check, and that's just really hard. Okay, so now that that is together, that's just like a faux way of looking, like, so it looks like that is what you're holding your album together, but actually you glued it all together. You could completely skip that step and not add the ribbon at all and just have the glue holding it together. If that were true, I'd probably take some of the scrap paper and add a little bit of pattern paper to the front and back of this spine. That way you kind of have a little bit of a decorative border there. Okay, so now let's go ahead and start adding in our pattern paper. Okay, and that is going to be this stack here. And you can, I'm going to use the album as a sample, but you can also use the photos, right? So if you look on starting on page 3, it has the album covers and then all the pages following it. Okay, so that's just for reference. But I just want to, let's go ahead and start by adding in what we have. So first things here, let's see, we have, so some of this is out of order, which is fine. We're going to go ahead and add our blue viney paper in first. Okay, so it is that witch hat paper. And if you want to use the opposite side of any of these at any point, you can. It's not a problem. You could also use that extra sheet of paper that I just used that one square out of this, if you prefer, whatever you want. Okay. So I've got that taken care of, and then I'm just going to flip it over and do the back side. Okay, so this is the front and back covers. Okay, and then we need to find that ghost paper. Let's see. Here it is right here. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and add that to the front and back here. And it's just going to go about 1/2 inch from the bottom. Okay. So I will go ahead and add this in. Okay, and we'll do the back side. It's the same. Okay. And then this little black star piece that is decorative, so I'll skip that for now. And then we'll go ahead and work on the next page. So page 2 and 3 in the album is that kind of speckled orange paper with the pumpkins. So we can go ahead and add those in next. Now, if you want to flip it too, you can use the pumpkins as the main background, but I just find that sometimes those images, those repeats can be a little bit hurtful on the eye. So I tend to use the kind of the B sides of everything for the background paper, and then I decorate with the A side. Okay. So the B side is the back of the paper. B for back. Okay, and then we'll just add these little strips in. And again, I'm going in the same order that I went in of the original, so that, you know, when you're working on the photos and everything, it's easier for you. But if you want to change it up, please feel free. This is your album. I just want to make sure that you have what you need to complete the album as is, and then add your own flourish wherever you want. Okay. So we've got that done, and then we can move on to the next page, which is going to be that star paper with the stripes. Okay, so we can go ahead and add that in next. This stripe is like everything Halloween to me. I love it so much. The colors are just so good. You can't tell, Halloween is my favorite holiday. So growing up, my birthday is October 20th actually, and so I always had Halloween themed birthday parties, and my parents would go all out. They would decorate the house, put up black lights, webbing. As I got older, it just kind of got more and more intense. And my parents would dress up, and it was just so much fun. Sleepovers at our old house. We had this like balcony that looked over onto the living room, and or like kind of just like this where you went up the stairs. Anyway, they would sit up there and read us ghost stories at night. It was really fun. I have very fond memories of all of those birthday parties. So I'm just adding in the strip of pattern paper, about 1/2 inch from the bottom on that right side and 1/2 inch from the top on the left side here. Okay. And the next page is going to be that purple kind of, well, you know what? I think I used that for the cover. It doesn't matter though. I used, this was actually supposed to be on the inside, but it's both blue. They're both blue with a dark strip, so you can't even really tell. But that go, and then so these go here. I just switched it in my album here, but it is correct in the directions. I apologize. It's kind of hard to see the black pattern because it's such a dark blue with the black. But it's still the same blue black pattern, so we will be fine. Go ahead and just get that down. Okay, and then these little strips of the witch hats go on either side here. Okay. And then the next page is going to be that bat with the bone dance. I don't know why this pattern is really cute to me. I just love the little kind of fat bats. It actually, we have bats here where I live, and we have a little cabin up north in California. It's in the middle of the Mendocino National Forest. Anyway, it's very wildlifey, and there's bats up there too. So I've grown up with bats, but the bats here versus the bats there are very different because there's not as many predators here for them. So the bats here get really fat, which is kind of funny to me. So like we have this one bat that likes to hang out in our entryway, and he is just huge. You would never get them that big in our cabin. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add in these little strips of the skeletons dancing. So cute. They're about 3/4 of an inch to an inch from the bottom. And my album is tight right now, but as you know, you use it more, you'll notice that it starts to kind of open up a little bit. The paper stretches and you have more wiggle room. But look how cute they are. Okay, and then that last page is going to be the pumpkins with the spiders. These spiders actually don't bother me as much as some, but when they look real, man, I can't use them. Get a little creeped out. Okay, so the pumpkins go face up. Okay. Looking good. And then our little strips of spiders are going to go on the inside, about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and just like that. Okay, and that is our album completed. Okay, now again, this little "'Tis the Season to Be Spooky" came from that multi-journaling card, and this is what goes underneath it. But again, if you wanted to change it, you could. Actually, this, I put a spell on you, is very close in color and everything. You just have to trim it a little bit, and you could use this card with the same type of border and everything there if you didn't want to cut into that paper and save it for something else. So you could totally do that instead if that is something that you want. So I'm going to leave this to the side for now, but that is that done. So we can go ahead and stick this guy back into our folio inside of our pocket. Okay, just like this. Looks good. He fits right in there perfectly. Okay. And then there are a couple pieces that we still need to add. So we need to add in our 3x4 cards and our 4x6 pieces. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of start again. This is all of my excess pieces for decoration. So I'm just keeping those kind of together. And then we can go ahead and work on our 4x6 large, well, they're 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, but these pieces next, okay? So let's go ahead and add in our first set. So we'll go ahead, so it's right behind the Something Wicked This Way Comes. And that gets it's actually the blue stripe with the ghost, just like this. Okay, so we can go ahead and add that blue stripe in. Okay. And again, I'm looking at the sample, but the photos are in your album here. So they start on page 2. So it's this large waterfall, pages 2 and 3. Okay. Okay. So that goes there. And then the little strip of ghosts goes along the bottom, about 1/2 inch up. And then the next one is going to just be this bone dance, which doesn't have any decoration. It's just the bone dance paper. Okay, so we can go ahead and add that guy in. Okay, and the back of bone dance is going to be the kind of paint splatter / polka dotty one with that strip of pumpkins. Okay, so this is opposite your trick or treat. Okay. Then next is going to be this cute, the bat paper with no decoration. Again, you have plenty of scraps that you can go ahead and add those decorations as you want. Okay. And then opposite that is going to be the spiders. So I actually did it like this, spiders with the pumpkin. Okay. And you could do it this way if you want, but I think I just thought that was a lot of orange, so I kind of switched it. Let's go ahead and stick these spiders down. And then this guy. And then the back is going to be the kitty cats, so that it kind of matches the kitty cats, but we covered them up anyway. So there's the kitty cats right there. Okay. Then the last things that we have to add are the 3x4 cards. So we can go ahead and do that now. And we just have, I think there's just 4. Yep, there's 4. So we could go ahead and add them. And so the first one is going to go right here. Okay. Just like that. Okay. And then the back is going to be the orange polka dot. And again, you could choose to eliminate these and just put an entire 3x4 photo here. Okay, then we've got pumpkins here. And then the last one behind Frankenstein is going to be the spiders, but we need to, again, trim those down. So let's just kind of, whoops, spiders. At least a 1/4 inch, maybe more. So I trimmed 3/8 of an inch and that looked great. And there's that. Perfect. And we can go ahead and close that guy now. And then like this. And remember I said it was bowing and it is not bowing at all anymore. It is perfect. Look at that. Looks so good. And then I will go ahead and add the pattern paper to the cover just so you can see. There are a few strips left over. So let me just kind of point them out here. So again, out of the paper that we have left, I'm just going to kind of pull this out. So this guy is for the album cover. You have a couple strips of this stripe or this the polka dot, excuse me, and I'm going to show you what that's for. Then so one of them is for here and the other pumpkin is for here and that spider web is for here. So these are decorations for the pocket pieces. So those are all decorative. Okay, and then I did add right here, I just needed a little something. So one of those strips went right there. That is completely optional. That is just something that I added because it just needed a little bit of something there. But then the rest of these are actually for the cover. So these 3 pieces are for your cover. And they are going to go just like this. We're going to go ahead and put the stripe down first. And then the back kind of gets centered over it, like hanging over it. And then the ghost goes right about here. And then you pop up that image, this guy on the front cover. So this is from your frames and tags. It is actually technically 2 pieces, but I just left it as one. And then these are all sticker images. So I popped this up and I popped up the candelabra and the cat, and then the pumpkin is flat. So we can go ahead and add these guys now. Of course, if you wanted to change the cover again, you totally could. Another thing that would be really cute is to tie some ribbon on this side. I just didn't do that, but that is definitely something that you could do. So I'm just adding in my cover pieces. I'd probably use something a little wider than the spiders, but you know, just whatever you want to do is up to you. So I'm just kind of overlaying this, kind of like 1/2 inch hanging off, but it is centered. Okay, and then this will go centered right on top, just like that. Okay, so all these things are flat, and then there you go, just like that. So I'm just kind of holding them in place. Okay. Okay, so that is actually the album, the folio shell and everything with the pattern paper done. I leave the embellishing up to you, but we can just go ahead and open it back up really quick so you can see everything that we did. So we did all of the cover pieces, we did all the little waterfall pieces over here. Okay, and we have these pages. We have the large waterfall all ready to go. And then our pocket with our mini album inside. Okay. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I loved putting this one together. I love that actually you technically could probably use a couple or maybe one of the mega 6x6 pads to make an album just like this again, because all of the pattern paper is, you know, no bigger than 6 inches. So if you wanted to do that, you could. Again, you have the 3 solid pieces for your photo mats, and this is completely up to you. If you want to cut them just like I did, again, they are right here. The measurements are on two places. They're on the cover sheet and they are at the back of your photos here. I did not use this one, this blue and light orange. So you could use this if you wanted to supplement some of the other photo mats, or you could take this and make some cards with your leftover scraps, your cards, and kind of go from there. That would be fun. So I'm just going to show you guys really quick kind of what I do when I'm done with a kit like this. So I will wait to embellish it and add the photo mats until I have my my pictures ready. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to stack all of my cardstock and that full sheet of paper up, and then I'm actually going to add in all of my scraps here, and I keep my scraps until I'm done. So I have all of these scraps and everything, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm actually going to add them right back into my collection kit here with my sticker sheet. Okay. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add my frames and tags into the back here so that I know that I have those as well. Okay. And I'm going to also go ahead and add in, sorry, I'm trying to kind of get this unstuck. I'm going to add in my pictures and my directions into this little collection kit as well. So I kind of just add these guys in here. And then I will find like a Ziploc or something, because these are not technically scraps. These are pieces that I cut that I know I need to still add. So I will put these in a Ziploc and then slide them in here as well. But this way, if I put the cover, the pictures and stuff on top, I know that this isn't a collection kit for me to use. I know that this is something that I bought for a kit and the class is done and I'm just waiting to finish up the project. Sometimes you can even slip the project in here as well. That is completely up to you. It just depends on how you want to store it, but you could slip the project in here as well and then close it up, however you like to store things. But that is our class today, and I hope you guys had a really great time. Please feel free to comment on the video if you have any questions, or reach out to your local scrapbook store. I hope you guys enjoyed your time with me today. And as always, please stay happy, healthy, and crafty. And to keep a lookout for my next class project kit with Echo Park and Cartabella, it will be using the Gnome for Christmas album and collection. So I'm really excited for that as well. Thank you guys so much again, and have a great rest of your day.